Hey everyone, welcome to this week's edition of the Oaks Countdown. Nicole Russo coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, joined by Dan Illman from our New York studio. And our countdown is really going to start to heat up. There were 3 scoring races toward the Kentucky Oaks last weekend. We'll take a look at the updated points list. This list going to start to take on added importance as we get closer to the Philly Classic, trying to earn a spot in the 14-horse starting gate. And Dan, a lot of new names appearing on the list after the weekend's action.
We see New York bred Espresso Shot leap up to number 4 after her big victory at Aqueduct on Saturday. Motion Emotion by Take Charge Indy, by virtue of her runner-up effort in the Grade 3 Honeybee, takes the 11th spot on our list. And Chocolate Kisses, who we're going to focus on in this video, by virtue of her victory in the Honeybee coming from well off the pace, she is at number 2.
Yep, and Chocolate Kisses, I think, a really interesting filly. You're watching her here win the Grade 3 Honeybee with the 50 points she picked up for the victory, surely ensuring her a spot in that Oaks gate based on past seasons. She's run kind of an eclectic campaign so far. Ran very well sprinting on dirt in her debut at Churchill last year. Won her next outing going long on the Saratoga turf. I think both a function of getting the added distance and the fact that her sire Candy Ride is a bit of a multi-purpose sire. Was 3rd in the PG Johnson on the Saratoga turf. I thought a creditable 4th in the Alcibiades as she stepped up to the Grade 1 level. Lost her rider at the start of the Rags to Riches. Won an allowance on the Fairgrounds turf to start this season, and then sort of put it all together, winning the Honeybee, her first time going long on the dirt.
I think we have to give trainer Mark Cassey and the Connections a ton of credit for even trying the Honeybee, because as you mentioned, going into the race, both of Chocolate Kisses' lifetime victories came on the turf, and she was coming off a very impressive seasonal debut victory on the turf, and being a half-sister to Synchrony, a graded stakes winner on the grass, you would think turf is in her future, and with a lot of money on the line in 2019 for talented 3-year-old fillies on the turf, you might have thought Cassey would have taken a chance in a race perhaps like the Florida Oaks at Tampa Bay Downs on the grass, but his faith in Chocolate Kisses was rewarded. In analyzing the Honeybee, however, it was one of those fast early, slow late races. Chocolate Kisses, while very, very professional, angling down to the inside to win that race, really was benefited by the pace up front. You could argue that Motion Emotion, the pace setter who was setting those hot fractions, ran the best race. Personally, I think the Chocolate Kisses will eventually be a turf filly down the road, but she does have some versatility in her bloodlines.
You know, she really does. Candy Ride, who we mentioned, of course, he's sired, some really outstanding turf and multi-surface horses, especially in California, kind of at the end of the synthetic era there. But he also, of course, has horses like Gun Runner, Champion Shared Belief, horses who can win going long, going a classic distance on the dirt. Chocolate Kisses, her Damn Brownie Points, just an outstanding, hard-knocking race mare on a couple of surfaces. Earned just shy of $1 million while winning 8 stakes. She was a Grade 3 winner, placed in 12 other stakes, and really a nice run in the Grade 1 Apple Blossom in 2008 when she was second to champion Zenyatta and finished ahead of another champion, Ginger Punch, in 3rd. Brownie Points has already thrown some really nice runners. You mentioned Synchrony, a 5-time graded winner. Also the Dam of Point System, a stakes winner who equaled a course record going 9 furlongs at Laurel, although on the Laurel turf. Again, a lot of turf in this pedigree, but I do think that there's enough foundation there for the dirt. And, I did like the professionalism that Chocolate Kisses showed in the Honeybee. As you mentioned, I think she's going to have to step up, at least from a buyer perspective, to contend with some of these fillies. But, we're projecting very far out, but I do think there's a lot of fillies with a lot of speed pointing toward the Oaks. Do you think it's possible that we could see a pace meltdown down the line in the Oaks?
We certainly could see a similar situation. We have seen it in years past in the Kentucky Oaks, and distance is half the battle, going 9 furlongs for early 3-year-old fillies. And from what I see from this pedigree, from what I see from this running style, distance is not going to be an issue for Chocolate Kisses. We're going to learn a lot more about her next month at Keeneland when she returns to the scene of that good 4th place finish in the Alcibiades, when she starts in the Grade 1 Ashland. I think Chocolate Kisses, a puncher's chance if you give her a fast pace at Churchill Downs in the Kentucky Oaks. As you mentioned astutely, she is going to have to improve in the Ashland for me to consider her a major contender at Churchill Downs. And again, I have a feeling she might be better, like her big half-brother Synchrony on turf down the road.
And, she did run very well on the dirt at Churchill Downs, sprinting in her debut. That race, though, actually came off the turf, so the turf intent was there from the beginning. But Churchill is a track that I think, plays kindly to turf-type horses, especially sometimes when it's wet. So I think that's going to be a thing to keep an eye on as well for astute handicappers.
Oh, I agree. I think that's something to keep an eye on. This horse does have that versatile pedigree. I like the fact that they ran her 2 turns in only her second lifetime start at Saratoga. She is a very professional, likable filly, but you do get the feeling it's going to be a lot about pace with her, because you'll notice in the 2 starts on dirt where she didn't lose her rider going long, she was just outpaced early in both of those races, and she might need a pace meltdown in a race like the Ashland or the Oaks.
Yeah. Well, Chocolate Kisses and her hard-knocking damn brownie points giving us plenty to talk about this week, and we'll have plenty to talk about in upcoming weeks here as the Kentucky Oaks gets ever closer. The pressure on maybe even a bit more for these fillies with the schedule changes, of course, caused by the closure at Santa Anita last week. Chasing Yesterday, who would have gone on the Santa Isabel that was among the stakes affected, is being rerouted to the Sunland Park Oaks on March 24th. Meanwhile, Santa Anita-based Oaks favorite Bellafina shipped to Los Alamitos to work on Sunday, as did many top horses. She's still targeting the Santa Anita Oaks, which is still on schedule for April 6th as her final Oaks prep. DRF's outstanding team in California, of course, continuing to update you on the stories at Santa Anita as they continue to unfold. And meanwhile, Dan and I will be back next week to put the action for these fillies in further perspective on the Oaks Countdown.